Welcome to Chaya Kumar's Entertainment. In this particular video, I'm going to discuss about what's the difference between GCC and the Clang compilers, and based on my understanding, which is going to be my preference. So if you're really keen to know the difference between GCC and the Clang, of course this is the right video for you. So please do watch this short and crisp video until the end. So the first difference is with respect to error message and diagnostics. So based on my experience, what I have seen is like Clang compilers tends to give more error than that of GCC, and the error message is also most crisp and clear compared to GCC. And sometimes GCC tends to ignore that implicit conversion warnings. So these are the error messages and the diagnostics what I have observed in my experience as an embedded software engineer. Second difference is with respect to build variants. So let's assume there are two different targets like the RISC-V or RISC-V and the ARM. So when you think of GCC, GCC compiler has two different build variants for RISC-V or RISC-V and the ARM64 or ARM32. They have their own set of build variants. And in case of Clang, right, so they don't have two different sets of build variants, or there is only one build variant. So just that you have to instruct the compiler saying that what target you are working on. For example, if you're working on RISC-V, like that argument to the Clang compiler should be -, target equals to RISC-V, or if you're working on ARM64, it should be -, target equal to ARM64 or ARM32, whatever the target that you're working on. So just by passing the argument of the target, the compiler will get to know that okay, this person or this engineer is working on so and so targets. So that's an advantage of Clang compiler over GCC, I would say. So the third notable difference is the nature of the compiler. So GCC is basically a monolithic in nature. So what does monolithic mean? So when you think of compilation steps, right, that's pre-processing, compiling, assembling and linking. So all these steps are actually defined, and if you want to make any changes between these intermediate steps, it's impossible because of the monolithic nature. So the intermediate steps between the conversion of .c or .cpp file into assembly code is actually, in other words, it's actually not unknown. So if you want to make any changes between those steps, it's highly impossible. But in case of Clang, right, it is possible. That is because they are actually built on LLVM infrastructure. And if you want to know more about LLVM, LLVM itself is a different thing. So Clangs are basically built upon LLVM infrastructures. So the intermediate steps between the conversion of .cpp or .c file into assembly file is actually defined in case of compilation process, and that particular intermediate step is called LLVM IR. LLVM IR stands for LLVM intermediate representation. So with that LLVM IR, right, you can transform or if you can modify anything, any custom way you want. So this is actually very useful for compiler developers or IDE developers. So, but in case of GCCs being a monolithic nature, it's not much useful for compiler developers. Despite being a monolithic nature, it's actually widely used, you know. GCC is still widely used in many industries. So whereas in case of Clang, or if you're a compiler developer or IDE developer who wants to make some tweaks between the intermediate steps between each compilation processes, yes, Clang would be a better choice. It's completely a personal preference, I would say, because of this LLVM infrastructure. Now comes the conclusion. If you want to ask me what is the choice between Clang and the GCC, Considering the advantages of error message and diagnostics that I explained previously, I would go for Clang. So that doesn't mean GCC is a bad choice. Indeed, many companies do use GCC. Many application has been developed even now. Like I mentioned previously, its monolithic nature hasn't prevented it from usage. I mean, the choice between GCC and Clang is completely a personal choice. So based on what you're doing, if you are a compiler developer and if you want to make any changes, if you may, with respect to the uh, transformation in between the compilation process, of course Clang will be your best choice. And in case if you are least bothered about the compiler, just that you want to write an application, uh, GCC is not a bad choice though. It's completely up to you what you want. In my case, I would actually prefer going to Clang. So, which one is going to be your choice of compiler? Please do comment below and let me know which one you want to use it. So, if you really like the video, please do like it. And if you want to dislike, yeah, you can dislike, no problem. And thanks for watching this video. Hope you like it.